Good morning, Vesta. Can you hear me? And I have a really good reason as to why I'm starting my live this way. We'll let a few more people jump on. Hi, Diane. So, we woke up to a wind chill of -5 today. Now it's gotten warmer, a little bit, but, oh, burr cold. Oh my goodness. A lot of people jumping on all at once. Hi, Gail. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Sharon. Good morning, Linda. Hi, Kathy. Thank you guys for being here. I missed you. It feels good to be back. Last week, somehow, just turning a certain way, I tweaked my back. I could not get comfortable. I wasn't comfortable standing. I wasn't comfortable sitting. And it just made trying to create today's project that I was going to do last week it was terrible. So I took the time off. And since then, I ended up with a cold sore. And I'm telling you, when you're doing a Facebook Live and you've got your phone on you, things are magnified. And I'm like, I can't do this. I'm going to have to start my live with the camera facing down because I'm so self-conscious. It's going away, but I still can't unsee this cold sore. So that is the reason why we're starting out the way we are starting out today. Hi, Linda. Hi, Sheila. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Fran. Linda in North Texas. Tony, thank you for sharing. Oh, Linda, you woke up to -7. See, it's just like, well, it's that time of year. We should expect it. But, oh man, I'll tell you, the dogs don't take any time outside. There's no messing around, no, finding things to get into. They get out there and they're like, it's potty time, we're going back in. So that's a good thing because I usually go out with them. Just because, I hover over them and I want to make sure that even though we have a fenced in yard, I just want to make sure that they're safe. Now, once I know they're safe and if they are taking too long, the minute that they kind of like get out of my sight, I sneak back in the house and wait for them to thump the door and say that they're ready. But hi, Barb, how are you? Hi, Pam, Louise, Betty. Boy, thank you everybody for being here. So today, which this is a project I wanted to do last week, and it was inspired by a paper crafting play date with Robin Armbrecht that she did a couple of weeks ago. Now, after the live, I will put a link up that takes you to her Facebook page, or maybe I'll just link the YouTube video of hers so that you can go and see the cards that she made with her technique. I saw that. I watched her play date and I started looking at my Pinterest board, and lo and behold, I had a quilt block saved for the longest amount of time that would work perfectly. So I want to give a shout out to Robin Armbrecht of Really Robin Stamps. Her project was my inspiration. I reached out to Robin, told her my idea. She's like, go for it. She's like the sweetest person ever. And then I want to give a shout out to Elaine Huff, who her name is attached to this quilt block. And so I want to give a shout out to both of those people. Hi, Mary. Okay, Betty, enjoy time with your sisters. Sisters are so special. Enjoy that time. Of course, the replay will always be there. Hi, Helene. Okay, so I'm featuring a celebration 6x6 designer series paper that you can get with if your cart is $60 or more. there are freebies that you can get that meet the $60 mark. Now, Stampin' Up! Did raise it from $50 qualifying to $60. It's my understanding that it has been forever that they hadn't changed, that the $50 was a threshold and $100 was a threshold. Now it's $60 and $120, just to let you know, so that you're not surprised. But this designer series paper is a freebie with a $60 threshold in your cart. And it's 6 different designs. And you get 8 sheets of each. Okay. So there's the A side. And then when I flip it over, this is the B side. And these papers will coordinate with the, there's a bundle in the upcoming mini catalog with toadstools. And so this will coordinate really, really well. I don't have that bundle. I just ordered it. It was one of those things that I saw and I'm like, oh, yes or no, yes or no. And I kind of just left it on the back burner. And then I started seeing all these wonderful creations being done by Stampin' Up! Demonstrators. And it was like, go ahead and order it. So I ordered it while there was free shipping. And we're going to use the paper today. Okay, so I zoomed out so it's a little easier to see. This is a really beautiful paper. Here we've got snails and some fungi, some wildflowers, some ladybugs. Who can't resist a stripe? I love this stripe. Here we have some toadstools, and I did fussy cut some of these for the examples of the cards I will show you when we're done making the card today. Here is another, just a variant of greens and fresh freesia going into like a melon mambo poppy parade type mix. And then there is another pattern that's got the different toadstools or fungi, and that's the one I'm going to use today. And I chose the B side of the toadstools for a strip that goes in our background. Okay, so I just wanted to share that really cute 6x6 designer series paper. It is a celebration item, so you're going to want to check that out. Really nice, bright, happy colors. So this is my designer series paper 1. This is number 2. And then I pulled in a third print to be in my quilt block. And I used a small print, and it's actually this here, which is the B side of that swirly type multicolored swirl. So that's the B side of that. And so that you can see there are colors that show contrast with each other. Okay? And then I'm choosing Early Espresso as my card base. We need an insert for our card, and I'm going to use Early Espresso to frame my quilt block. So I'm just using the same color cardstock. You know that once you see this done, you run with your ideas and change it up the way you want. So let's cut our card base first. I'm going to do a top fold in portrait mode, and I'm thinking I need to zoom. I got to make sure there's nothing on my desk that gives the mystery away. We've had that happen before. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Sandy. Sandy got the paper pack. Yay. Hi, Jill. Can you start from the beginning, please? Well, Jill, I'm featuring the toadstool 6x6 designer series paper from Celebration. We haven't gotten started on the quilt block yet. I showed them the two patterns that I'm using. My designer series paper number 1 is my focal, and I'm pulling colors out of my focal piece to be an accent strip and the in the quilt block itself. Okay, so you really haven't missed much. So we're going to cut our card base. Again, it's a top fold portrait mode. I'm going to score once. So I'm going to get 2 card bases out of my 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. I'm going to score it in half with the 11 inch across the top. And that's at 5.5 inches. This way, if I do my scoring now, I don't have to go back in and score twice. Now I'm going to rotate it, and this side of my paper is 8.5. Well, half of that is 4.25. So I'm going to put the edge of my cardstock on 4.25 inches. I'm going to slice that, and now I have 2 card bases. We're going to use one. This is your reason to make a second block, okay? And when we cut our pieces for our block, you're going to find that you're going to have some pieces left over. So part of your cutting for a second block is already going to be done. Okay, so I'm going to set this extra one aside. And then we need an insert for our card, which I'm going to make this 4 by 5.25. I'm just stepping down 1/4 inch from my card base. So I think I'm already at 4 that way. So let's cut a 5.25 inch piece. That's going to be for my card. And what you have left over will be for your next card. You see, I'm giving you every reason to make 2 cards, right? Because I have something I want to show you that I did differently with this quilt block that may want you to try it. And this way you've got some pieces already cut. Hi, Pam. I'm so glad you got that in the mail. And let's see. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing any comments. So while we're doing some cutting, let's bring in our focal designer series paper that we chose. I need this to be 4 inches by 5.25. Now pay attention to orientation. You know, if you've got a directional paper, you want to pay attention to this. My paper has the images running. I want them to be vertical. So I'm going to cut this at 4. This is an extra piece for you to save. And I want it to be 5.25. So I am going to just turn it, make it 5.25. This 3/4 inch piece that we cut off is actually going to be a little accent strip for the inside of the card. Okay, this is our focal. And now I want a strip that's going to be in the background. And my print, I need it to run horizontally. So I'm going to turn this sheet of 6x6, and I'm going to cut this at, I want to make sure that I'm not telling you wrong, and I can't show you the card. Yes, it's 1 3/4 inches. So we're going to cut a strip at 1 3/4 inches. Put your extra to the side. So now I have the focal designer series paper that I'm pulling all my colors from. I have a strip here. I have my inside with my little accent strip, and we have our card base. Let's put all of this aside for just a moment, okay? Let's bring in the pieces that are going to make our quilt block. This square that of Early Espresso, which is it 2 3/4? Yeah, it's 2 3/4 inches square. This is going to be the frame for my quilt block. So I'm going to set that to the side for now. We have a 2.5 inch square of basic white. And I have a 2.5 inch square of Designer Series paper. I want to cut this in half diagonally. So I'm going to put it in my trimmer with the points falling in the cutting track. And I am going to cut this in half. I only need one of these. This is your reason to make another block. So sit that to the side with your other pieces for a second card, and then you'll see what little pieces you need to cut extra in order to finish the block. Hi, Peggy. Can I repeat the second DSP? Yes, Tony. So the second DSP, which is going to be an accent strip, is 1 3/4 inches. And I left it at 6 inches because I'm going to wrap my layer. If you don't want it wrapped, then cut it 1 3/4 inches. And because my pattern is, what is the word I'm looking for, you guys? Because it is directional, I want to make sure that I'm cutting it so that my print is horizontal. If you don't want to wrap, then cut this at 4 inches. Okay? Did that answer your question? Hi, Sharon. Hi, Peg. So we only needed one of those triangles. And then we have 2 squares that are 1 1/4 inches. So let's just keep our pieces over here to the side. And then I've got these here. These are 1 1/4 inches square. We're going to cut them diagonally. So again, I'm using the bumpers of my trimmer to hold that square on point. And then I'm just going to line up the other point in the track. I'm going to position my cutting blade over the top of that square, and I'm going to gently close it. I'm going to push down into the paper with the blade, and then I'm going to cut down and I'm going to cut up so that I'm not cutting into the corner and smudging up my paper. Now, one of these you don't need. So guess what? It goes in the pile for a second card. And we're going to turn this triangle and we're going to cut it again in half. So I've got the longest side of my triangle across the top of my trimmer. The point is in the track. And I can come straight down now because I'm not cutting into that point. Or wait a minute. I'm sorry. We do need all 4. Bring that little piece back in. Don't set it aside. No, wait a minute. Let me see my card. I'm correct. You don't need it. That's your extra piece. We only need 2. Okay. We're going to do the same thing with the white. So we're going to do the same thing with the white. Extra piece, extra card. Turn it so the longest side is across the top of your trimmer. Your point is in the track. Lower that guard and cut down. So we got 2 white triangles, we got 2 designer series paper triangles. Then with our squares, set 1 square of white aside, set 1 square of designer series paper aside. The 2 that are left over, I'm just going to use my snips on this because they're getting pretty tiny. And to put them in the trimmer can be a little cumbersome. So I am just going to put the corner of my basic white into my snips, and I'm going to cut corner to corner. I'm going to do that for the white, and I'm going to do that for the designer series paper. Okay? How's everybody doing if you're following along? Hi, Kathy. Hi, Jean. How was your mom's class? Hi, Lori. Okay, so let's get all of our pieces off of here because we are ready to put our quilt block together. Bring in my silicone mat. Those were my notes, so I didn't forget the shout outs to the who inspired me on this project. Bring in that white square. This triangle is going to get adhered to 1/2 of your square. So let's bring in some adhesive. I prefer a liquid glue when making quilt blocks so that we have time to reposition things if we need to. So that's going to go here. Just make sure it's in the corners and out to the edge. Okay. And now bring in your square of white and your 2 white triangles. Okay. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put this square right down into this lower left-hand corner. We're going to start building our quilt block. And the reason why we are layering is because I am trying to keep from having to cut a million pieces into tiny pieces and then put them all back together. I want a block that has as few seams as possible so that it looks whole. Okay, and when you run your quilt block through an embossing folder, that helps mush seams together too and make it look a little more flawless. So my goal is always to make it look as whole as possible. So sometimes that requires doing some layering. Okay, so the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 triangles, and these 2 triangles are going to sit right in the corners of the designer series paper. Okay? So, put some glue on there, and you can turn your quilt block so that you can make it easier for yourself. I am lining up, what I'm doing is I turned my block so that I can line up the long side of that triangle with this really long line that was created when we put that square of design, or that triangle of designer series paper down. So I'm just using that line to help line me up, and I'm just want to make sure it's nice and flush. and that my edge is still out here to the side. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to put the other corner in. Okay, so again, I'm just going to turn this so that I can line that up. Get that point down in there. So now your quilt block looks something like this. Okay? So now we're going to rotate our quilt block and we're going to work on this side. So we're going to bring in that square of Designer Series paper, and it's going to go in the lower right-hand corner. And those two triangles of Designer Series paper, we're going to do the same thing. They are going to go up here in the corners, and now that you've got this little lip, you can butt those right up to the white triangles. And if you want to play around with your triangles to see if they work better in one spot than the other, you know I definitely encourage that. I'm going to try this one up here. And of course, your cutting has everything to do with how it turns out. And by using my snips to cut, you want to make sure that you have scissors or snips that cut straight. And because I was eyeballing it, I might be off just a little bit, but I can kind of move my paper around. And remember, we haven't quilted it yet. That helps smush things in place. So unless it is insanely off, roll with it, see what happens, okay? If it is insanely off, I'm going to encourage you to cut another piece. It's just paper. These pieces are small. It's not like you're wasting. It's not like if we were making a 12-inch block out of fabric and, oh, you know, we're just off a little bit. I would never want to throw away a 12-inch block, piece of fabric. These are much smaller pieces. And if I have to cut another, you know, triangle or cut another square and make them into triangles, I think it was, what, 5/8 of an inch square? So it's like nothing. It's a scrap. So now this is what our quilt block looks like. How's everybody doing so far? Lori, thanks for tagging your friends. Hey, Marilyn. So now we've got some larger triangles left over. Let's just stay working on this side while it's in front of us. Your two larger triangles are going to sit between your small triangle and your square. And it should just pop right in there. Do you see what's happening here? Okay, so let's pop in. I'm thinking that this triangle here might work better there. Yeah, it does. It's snugger when I turned it around. I'm going to turn my quilt block so that I can put this right down here at the bottom. I was hoping Robin would get a chance to hop on today and see what we were doing, since she was my inspiration. Now that this might look a little familiar to Robin's project, did anybody who's on happen to catch her paper crafting playdate a couple weeks ago? And do you, does this look familiar to the technique that she used with dies and punches? Anybody? Did anybody get a chance to see her her paper crafting play date? Hi, Doris. Is Robin with ya? Hi, Robin. Okay, so we're going to turn our block and we're going to fill in the other two sides with the white triangles. So I'm going to see what works better. I'm thinking this one here might be a little snugger there, giving me nice crisp points. Yeah, I like it better when I moved them around. So let's talk about this since I am mentioning Robin a lot. So Robin's technique was called a split shape negative technique. And she used dies, you could use punches also, a basic shape, and I am not going to try to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to post a link so that you can go watch her paper crafting play date. I want you to learn from Robin. Give her some love, and you will see how this ties in to what she did. Because there is not a sawtooth star die or different quilt block dies. As piecers, and that's what we are piecers, we need to create that shape ourselves. And we can do it because we are crafty and we will figure it out. So there is a split star. Now this actually is a quilt pattern that Elaine Huff had shared online. I did not find a date on it, but it was called a split star. And with Robin doing a split shape, it was just like, oh my goodness, we can do this in a quilt card. So that is how we are getting our positive and negative sides to our quilt block. Okay? So now that we've got our quilt block, we need to quilt it. So I am going to step away for just a moment, and if you're crafting along, go ahead and quilt your block. Okay, so I'm just going to run this through real quick. I used a retired embossing folder. It was an online exclusive with 2 other folders, but it's one of my favorites. I love the crosshatch, and I actually flipped my block over when I put it in the embossing folder so that I got a debossed side. The embossed side shows the pattern being raised up, and the debossed side will show the pattern recessed into the paper. Just kind of helps. It's not anything too bulky or too lofty, so that the pattern is what shines. Okay, we're not going to put this on our frame yet, so let's just set those 2 pieces aside, or set our quilt block aside with the square that is going to frame it. Tony, it's like maybe we've got the same wavelength or something. Hi, Valerie. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's bring back in our pieces to our card. Okay, so I'm gonna got a little burr on my card base there. So I'm just going to burnish the score line on my card base. Again, it's a top fold. Okay. And I'm not going to put this down yet. Don't glue this down yet. We're not done with these pieces here. We're going to go ahead and bring in our basic white. That is the insert. And I am going to put my little accent strip down at the bottom here. This is that piece that we cut off, the 4x6 piece that we started with. Got a little burr there too. Might be time to change a blade. So there's our insert. And we can go ahead and put that on the inside of our card. And if you're going to stamp anything, do that before you glue your insert down. A lot of my cards, I am not sure what their purpose is going to be for yet. So I don't give it a purpose right away. And you know, if you do stamp after you put this on and you goof, you can always cover it up by stamping your sentiment again on a piece of basic white or whatever color that you're using. And then punch that sentiment out and glue it right over the top of your mishap. Okay? Let's set this to the side. Let's bring in our number 1 DSP. Now, this is going to, whoops, upside down. See, I need to pay attention to orientation here. And I'm going to lay this, oh, wait a minute. Here's what we got to do. Okay, set that aside. Take your frame. Take your square that's your frame for your quilt block. We are going to put this down. I'm going to put it up towards the top, and I'm eyeballing it just to make sure it's straight, and then I have somewhat of an even border. Move that over here a little bit. Okay, so I put my frame down on the DSP number 1. Am I getting out of camera here? Okay, so let's keep going. Now what we're going to do is I am going to put this across here. And now what I'm looking for is I just want equal parts on the top and bottom. And I'm just going to lay down some glue across there. And then lay that down. Pick it up, play with it, make sure you're straight. I can see that I'm a little crooked on the square underneath it, so that's why it's throwing me some fits a little bit, but we're not going to overthink it. Okay. Okay. I'm going to lay it down, and here's where I'm going to wrap my ends around to the back. I can just fold this over. Okay. Now, before I seal it though, I thought it would be fun to bring in some ribbon that would kind of split this up. So I just grabbed something whimsical looking and just going to cut off a piece. And let's see, this is going to get covered up so I can cheat with Scotch tape because my quilt block is going to go there. So I can hold this down on the front with a piece of Scotch tape. I can flip it over. And Scotch tape this to the back. Okay. Now this is something I didn't do with my other examples I'm going to show you, but it kind of came to me last night. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it too much because I'm going to end up tying another piece of ribbon to the side for a knot, and that is going to kind of distort it a little bit. So I'm not too worried about that. So now we've got another little element to our card. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue my quilt block on top of all these layers. And this actual layout is a card sketch that I forgot to get the number on. I had seen a card sketch and it took a square, and instead of laying this strip behind your layers, it looked like it was woven underneath them. So that was something different I wanted to try. So you're only going to get like the bottom and top little border here, okay? Now, if you want, you can experiment with putting your quilt block up, popped up with dimensionals. I'm trying to keep this flat. And what you want to play with before you glue this down is what does your eye want to see when you look at it? And if you're looking towards the top of the star, I think I want to notice my quilting, and I want the, not sure which is the positive and which is the negative. But I think I'm going to put my DSP to where my eye goes to this diagonal part of my quilt block. I think that's where I want to go first. No right and wrong. Don't overthink it too much. Don't be like me. Put this down here. I can't wait for you to go and check out Robin's paper crafting playdate. She created some awesome cards with the positive and negative. And you will get 2 cards out of one technique. So, and of course, Robin is like the queen of clusters. She does so much with clusters. She's so good at creating them. So there is the front of the card. Like I said, I'm going to just cut a knot, tie a knot to a side of my block here. So I need to feed this. Might have got it out a little too snug. There, come on. There we go. Just feed that underneath. Just going to tie a knot. Again, I'm trying not to create too much bulk for the card. So we're just going to tie a little knot. And then I'll trim those ends once I finish it. Okay, so now that we have the top part of our card, what did I do with the card base? Oh, right here. Now we can glue our card front to our base. That just blends in way too much with that silicone mat. I want to be able to make sure I'm getting somewhat of an even border on all 4 sides. Okay, this is so cute. Can't wait to show you my other examples using this same paper, but showing you how different patterns and stuff can work together. Okay, so let's trim off our ends here. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I'm glad I added that ribbon. Now this could be a bow if you wanted to. So that is our quilt card. We need a sentiment. And this is what I want to show you. This is, you'll find these products in the mini catalog, the new one coming out. It's this set right here that is a bundle. Hugs for Love. And this is where I got my sentiments. I had used You Make Me Smile and Life is Better With You. These bold fonts stamp so beautifully. And then with the coordinating punch, there's another stamp set that you can get. It's called Bright Borders. Now, who can resist a label that doesn't have a pretty border instead of just your label being plain white or whatever color you're using? This would look beautiful even embossed with heat embossed, these borders. So 2 different stamp sets that will use that coordinating punch, and you have tons of ideas to use. So the punch, the shape of the punch did not work with my card. So I just brought in a different shape. These are from the Nesting Essential Shapes or something like that. And I do have the sentiment You Make Me Smile. And I'm going to stamp that in Early Espresso, like one of my #1 colors of ink. Now I'm going to move this down closer to me so that I can see the center. Isn't that pretty? I think I got something on my stamp. It's got a few specks there, but you know what I'm gonna do? If I can do this without knocking everything over, I'm gonna bring in my Stampin' Right marker of Early Espresso, and I am just gonna color in some of those areas that I didn't get enough ink on it. I'm just going to touch it up a little bit with my marker. Okay. So there's my sentiment. And I am going to pop this up. Now, I thought about fussy cutting one of the toadstools or mushrooms from the Designer Series paper, but I've got toadstools and stuff going on, so I am going to leave it alone, but I am going to pop it up with dimensionals. And I cannot wait for the bundle to come in, because those toadstools and that punch are amazing. I don't know why I slept on it, but I did. And then I'm just going to put this down here towards the bottom. Oops, I want to make sure that I'm even on both sides. Okay, and then I love these textured dots, the metal ones, because actually if you look at the texture, it reminds me of like toadstooly stuff, like a texture. And I could use them, or another celebration item that you can get are these purple sequins that come in different colors. We got Berry Burst, Fresh Freesia. The Iridescent brings out Petal Pink, and you've got some greens and blues. So I was thinking maybe using the Berry Burst ones and putting some of these sequins down just for some accents, but I don't know where I want to put them. I got enough going on up here with my quilt block. So you know what I'm going to do, just to even out this, because there's a lot of space on both sides here, I'm just going to put a small sequin, because you got different sizes. I'm just going to put a couple of them on either side, and I'm going to leave it done. They almost look like dimples. Smile. You got a couple of dimples there. And this is our mystery quilt block card for today. So it is a split star that ties in to Robin Armbrecht's technique of a split negative shape. It's our quilter's way of being able to do the technique that she shared. So I hope you like this technique. I hope that you will give it a try. A PDF will drop this weekend, and you'll find it over in the files in our community quilt card group. Okay? Facebook doesn't let me put files and PDFs. I can't store them on my business page. So I put them in the group page. And now I want to show you some other cards that I made with the different papers using different patterns in my star. So that one is today's. But before I do that, let me show you what this block looks like at 3 inches. Oh, here's what I wanted to show you. Light versus dark. Okay, here's another lesson that we can learn. Instead of using basic white as our background, what if you chose a darker background? And are these still not in camera? Hold on. Let's move them down a little bit more. Okay, so light versus dark. Totally different feel. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's easy for me to teach contrast if I'm using like a white in the quilt block. And so I use it a lot. But that doesn't mean that you have to use white. You can I pulled the darker color out of the Designer Series paper, which was Early Espresso, and I used that as my dark. I still have contrast with the brightness of the Melon Mambo paper, but look how Melon Mambo, just how it changes putting a light background versus the white. Yes, total difference. Now another, this is a 3-inch block. So if you want, in the PDF, I'll give you the cutting instructions for a 3-inch block. And we have our 2.5-inch block. What you can't do with the 3-inch block is you can't put it on point. It will go to the out, it'll take more than 4¼ inches, which is what we've got to work with in a standard card base. It goes longer than that. But if you wanted to put your stars on point, this size is too big. Now here on point, we've got our center line going vertically. If we change it and just turn this to where our line is running horizontally, now you've got even a different look for your quilt block on point. The 2.5-inch square will work on point on the front of your card, but 3-inch will not. And so I had to scale it down These were my originals. I had to scale the block down to give you an option to putting that block on point, if that's something that you want to try. Okay, so light versus dark. And here are some other examples. Now this one, I did not put anything on top of my layer. And here I fussy cut one of the toadstools and put it on. And I did use those textured dots. So that's another example. And I turned my block so that the white was up here and my Melon Mambo was in the opposite corner. So you can kind of see how different that looks when you put them in opposite corners, when you're deciding how you want to finish your card. So we got those. And is this, I believe, yes. Here's the light versus dark comparison with my cards here. So light versus a dark, and you can see how that plays with the background papers. And then these two here, another light versus dark, but I changed the pattern of paper for my star. This is that really wild swirly side, and I used that in my star. But again, light versus dark. And then I did a card where instead of early espresso, because this paper here didn't have any early espresso in it. So I decided that the darkest color in that paper was the Melon Mambo. So the Melon Mambo became my background, and I chose this little multicolored polka dot as the designer series paper. This is just a strip of granny apple green instead of ribbon. Again, I did wrap all my edges. Let's talk about this label right here, because you can get that shape in a punch and a die. These are from the annual catalog. So you can get this shape of a label in a punch or a die. And then I used the stamp to give it a border from Naughty and Nice, which you'll find this in the Last Chance section because it is retiring. But this stamp right here gives you a really nice border so that your label isn't too plain. And that's where I got that. So just some ideas. And these are our cards from today, or for this technique of a split star, but totally inspired by Robin's split shape negative technique that you can find on, if you go even to her Facebook page and you scroll down, you'll find it. But I can put the link to the YouTube channel on, okay? And you'll find that I will link that on the Chirpy page. I'll take a picture of my card and link the inspiration behind it. And then you can go check out how Robin created her cards, and you can create a couple of cards from her technique, okay? So that's it for today, you guys. This is a really, I think, a really cool technique. It was easy to piece that star together, and I hope you have fun with it. I can't wait to see what you choose to use. If you're still making Christmas cards, maybe use some Christmas Designer Series paper. Just would like, this star would work with red, white, and blues if you're wanting to do a patriotic card for a veterans organization that you provide cards to. So use your imagination, try some different things, and have fun with it. And I can't wait to see your samples over in the community group, which is called Quilt Cards and More. And if you have not yet joined, there are some 3 simple questions that I am a stickler about, okay? They're not hard questions, but I'm a stickler that they get answered, okay? So please don't forget to do that. And everybody just have a really blessed day, and we'll keep in touch, okay? I hope that you had a good Thanksgiving, and now we're totally into Christmas mode. So, again, enjoy your day, everybody. Talk to you later.